What are we working through today, Aaron?
I would absolutely love to tune the mindset I have or the attraction that I'm putting out for money frequency. I feel like I have a lot of opportunities coming my way, or I feel like opportunities fluctuate how they come towards me. And the opportunities come to me very strongly in certain ways when I'm tuned correctly. And when I feel like my mind is in the right place, I really do feel my energetics then bring in a lot of abundance and wealth and opportunities. And then I go through times where I'm not. And it's just this like fluctuation of that. And I think if I'm able to control the fluctuations of bringing in wealth, I could just turn up the dial, and I want to be making $50,000 a month. That's what I want. I want to be making more than I was when I was a drug dealer. Now that I'm a coach, an entrepreneur, and legitimate business person, I want to make more than that I was in my previous lifestyle. That's a big goal of mine. That would be a really beautiful thing to then see I can make more, making a positive impact than I was when I was not.
Okay, so there's these fluctuations, and sometimes you're really kind of tuning into your worth, and other times it's kind of you're not, and you want to call that in more and more. Yeah. So really, to the extent that you continue to be tuned into your worth, so you can really call that in and really, with your purpose, earn as much as you did when you're a drug dealer, only now and moving forwards, doing it legitimately and really giving back and serving others. It's really just about when you're not actually doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's always a riddle with you. I'm like, wait. Let me draw that out.
so when are you not? How do you know not to tune in to your worth?
I feel like, how do I know not to tune in with my worth? I feel like sometimes there's an air of desperation when I have clients that want to work with me but can't afford it, and then I'll be like, oh, I want to help them. I can sometimes then bargain down, and then it doesn't even go through. They're not serious clients. Whereas if I have this boundary of this is what I charge, yes or no, and I just give my rates right away, maybe there's something in self-work where I don't want to be said no to, or maybe sometimes I maybe then there's a imposter area, like, well, I charge high rates. Am I worth it? Maybe.
So there's this desperation.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can just think of a time in the past where you had this client you were talking to, and then you had this desperation, and then also it didn't even, they didn't sign. So when's that? Where are you when you're having that chat and you really want to sign them, you really want to help them, but they can't afford it? Yeah, where's that?
It happened in the room. I'm at this co-working place just here. I had a client that looked very impressive. I really wanted to sign her. 1 million followers, professional boxer, professional 25-time world champion weightlifter. She just went through a big breakup and want to then launch her own brand and her own business. I really wanted this client. Okay. And she showed up 25 minutes late for the call and then had to leave right on time. And I thought we were getting places, and then she ghosted me. And I was like, shit, I didn't get a chance to do a full, discovery call with her. And this client I felt would have been a turning point. If I had a famous client she said she's making great money, she could afford my rates. This would have been a big one. And then it just evaporated, and she didn't answer any of my messages or calls after that. I'm like, did I blow it? I thought it was going good, but dang, she's gone. Okay. Then I'm sitting there. What did I do? Oh, okay.
And then what happened after that? So when she ghosted you, was that it? No more messages? You didn't message her? It was just done? Just so I know. Behavior afterwards.
I messaged on WhatsApp, but she doesn't. I don't know if she uses WhatsApp much. I didn't get any response, and I emailed twice. No response.
Okay. So you're in. Is it an office? Kind of
Yep.
right in here. Yeah. So you're in that office. And are you? When this desperation, you feel this desperation. Okay. Where are you? Are you sitting down? Are you on the computer? Okay, so you're sitting down. And is this during the call?
This desperation would have been because she said she was going to call me right back after that next call, and then she never did. And then
okay, so I just want to check. So as always, I'll just pause you a little bit. Okay. So there wasn't desperation on the original call. Oh, okay. So no desperation on the original call.
No, sorry. There was desperation during the aftermath where I'm not getting the call back.
Okay.
And then I was worried I talked too much on that call. Maybe I turned her off and I talked too much, and I was worried about it. And the desperation came also dissecting the issue after. What did I do? Should I have not mentioned that I was in a happy relationship because she just got in a divorce? Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned that. Maybe I overshared and she didn't want to be reminded that someone else is happy. Maybe she wanted to start working with me because she found me attractive. Maybe this, maybe this, maybe this. Maybe I fucked it up. Maybe this. And I got that desperation then I emailed her again. Hey, here's the plan that I picked out for what you should do next. If you think it's a great plan, I'd guide you through it. Of course, let's talk about it on the next call. No response. Check again. Hey, are you alive? Ha ha ha. Just checking in if based on the call, and then crickets, and then the desperation or the self disbelief in self came through. Why did I fuck this one up? What did I do? Why did I mess this one up? What did I do?
So if I understand, I'm just curious about this. It's not so much about the call we're talking about. It's actually about after the call, and when you get into this desperation mode, and then it's kind of like if you've been on a date and you really like the girl, and you thought, oh man, it's going really well. And who knows why, right? You don't know why. Maybe she's got some stuff going on. She can't commit, whatever. Maybe she wasn't into that you or whatever. And then you're kind of messaging, and it kind of makes it worse and worse and worse. And you kind of know, you're like, I need to not do what I'm doing right now. Yeah. And then any chance there would have been, and any chance of that person, especially in a business sense, talking about you, maybe in another way rather than desperate, for example, or having that feeling, you just keep kind of messaging type thing. Yeah, okay. So it's really more when that desperation comes in, now you're into that behavior. So it's more about getting you before that desperation.
Yeah.
So that you can, I'm just checking here, so you can just review what happened in the call, not from a place of desperation and thinking it's about you as a person and your worth. Yeah, that's it. But it's more about just like a technique thing, like when you do, your martial arts, it's more like, okay, so I didn't win that fight, or, I did that sparring round. Next round, what are we going to do? I need to hit more to the body. I need to do a high, I need to set up a high kick with a low kick, but it's not about your identity. And to that extent, you can do better in the next round. You can learn for the next opponent, and also you get a better feeling about it. It's just about a skill set, not about who you are. Yeah. I'm just throwing those things out there. So
actually, what came up for me while you're saying that is just like before a sparring round, I should sit and actually visualize how I want it to go. Before I was, when a new beginner comes out, they're just fighting, throw every bunch. Kind of like you just get a new controller. You're pressing BAX, all that, you're pressing every single controller you can. So you're just doing, whatever. And I kind of feel like maybe I came at her like that. I was like, look how intelligent, how many skills I have. This is what you do, this.
Right.
Instead of, Aikido or judo or a skilled fighter will just wait for it and throw a counter punch. And actually all I did was flail, I feel like, instead of actually, and showing look how many moves I have, instead of listening, taking it in, and then throwing the right punch at the right time. Try this.
And as you're feeling what you're feeling now, you're feeling what you're feeling now when you're sparring and you counter, just think about, you just notice you're in the office over there, and notice what happens now.
I think I come in with more calm strength rather than like wild what's the word for it, flailing, you know? Yeah.
So let's get a thing to attach it. Sorry, carry on.
I was throwing haymakers. Yeah, I could knock somebody out, but
yeah, and burning yourself out, right? Just exhausting yourself. So it's kind of about, kind of Anderson Silva, kind of like calibrating. You're just like, you're just throwing a few fakes out there, and you're just watching, okay, that's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do. And then you know the right kind of counter, the right kind of attack, where to push, where to, pull back. Yeah. So this is great. We've got lots of good stuff we can use already. So where would be most useful for you? Because it's a bit like a slide. Once the feeling has come, the desperation, it's like we've started to go down the slide already. Yeah. And then after that, you're just basically, it's almost the point of no return. It's very difficult. You're in unconscious stuff now. Then you go into like messaging, the behaviors come out, so we want to go before that. So before you had the desperation, what were you looking at or hearing just before the desperation? That's right.
I was looking at, did she respond to my messages? I was looking at her Instagram. Did she post something? Yep.
So just set the scene for me. Are you looking at your phone or are you looking at your lap? So you're looking at your phone and you're in that place over there you mentioned.
I came back to the office and I was looking and searching if maybe she didn't respond back to my messages, but she's still active.
Back to the office. So you're in the office and you're looking at your phone and you're looking at your messages. And then what happens? Walk me through it. What happens inside you when you're looking at those messages and you don't see a response?
I started critiquing myself or the situation. So I started to try to break down, what did I do wrong here?
Now, can I check? What's the tone? Yep. Notice the tone.
The tone it wasn't beating myself up so bad. I think I used to do that, but now it was, what do you think? It was like a notation of every single thing that could have warped it or could have not worked. And I was just trying to break it down. Like, wait, what? Like an audit. And how, parts of it where I was wondering, were they my fault? And then parts of it could have been, probably on hers. Like I remember auditing it, and I remember a little minor recoil when I said, I just been back in Vancouver. I'm super in love with my girlfriend. I'm definitely I want to marry her. Because it was maybe that was an overshare. And I remember there was a little bit of like maybe incrementally, it just wasn't something I should have shared to someone who was just going through a divorce and a bad one. And I was like, maybe that wasn't the right thing to share. Okay. And so I noted that and noted it for later. Don't talk about your personal life with your clients. Even though my intention was to build trust, to show I'm not some creepy coach who's going to hit on you. I'm very content and happy.
I get that.
So,
and then what happens? So you've got this critique, and I totally get that, right? Build rapport, share. But and these things can happen. You can't see absolutely everything all the time, but obviously then afterwards you learn. You critique. So you're in your office and you're looking at your phone and there's no messages, and then you start to do this audit and you start to critique, but it's not like it used to be. It's more kind of just notation, going through, and then you notice, there's one thing maybe like you coiled, I overshared maybe, and then what happens?
Then I constructed the message of how to email and okay, don't look desperate. Just check in, maybe use a bit of humor.
Pause there. Pause there.
Yep.
So you're critiquing yourself, and then you're starting to construct the message, right? What happens just before that, after the critiquing? Or let me ask you this, actually. Sorry,
okay.
I want to check this. So have you felt the desperation yet before you start writing that message?
Yeah.
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 Okay, good. Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens in between critiquing yourself and the desperation?
I come to the conclusion that whatever I have done, I didn't do it right.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Well, that'll help.
I fucked up. So I fucked up somehow.
Okay. Okay. So you're like, critique. Yeah. Okay, that could be that. Yeah. Well, I must have fucked up somehow.
Exactly.
Okay.
I fucked up somehow.
Okay. Now here's the thing. I mean, we're kind of making light of it. It's kind of fun. I mean, as you're feeling what you're feeling, just think about, you're in the office and you're looking at your message, and just notice what happens now when you're kind of being light about it. You're lightening up. That picture.
It's like you learn. It's a learning experience. You're like, okay, fair enough. Don't overshare, and fair
Good.
enough.
As you're feeling what you're feeling,
listen
just
more.
notice there's that message. And, fair enough.
Fair enough.
Well. You live and learn. Oh well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I really wanted that client though.
That's good. So, well,
Yeah.
you did want to. That's right. So you really did want that client. What's that?
Yeah, because that client is a powerful person, and I'd love to help them reach another level, because they are already a very capable human, and she'd kick the shit out of both of us. She's a professional boxer. I saw her throw. I was like, oh, I would have want none of that. and I'd love to be on that team. I'd love to be guiding and helping someone. And I want my strategy to be so effective that it helps that person accomplish so much more. I want to be on that team.
So you really did want to be on that team, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing. So to the extent that you really did want to be on that team, I guess you really can learn from this one. Can you not?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you're not thinking about other times in your life where you really wanted something, but you didn't quite do what you needed to do skill-wise or just show up-wise to get it. But because you really wanted it, you then really learned from it, so that wouldn't happen again. Or you do your damnedest to make sure you did everything you could at the level you're at, that you performed at your highest level and showed up authentically. That's good. And so you're not thinking about all those times now, are you? When you look at that phone and how important it is to learn from this, because you wanted to be on that team. And so I wonder what will happen when, to the extent that you go back now before that call, having the knowledge that you now have, calm strength, taking your time, strategizing, considering her moves, just like you would an opponent. The bonus is she's well known, so you can really understand how to spar in the best way. And the thing about sparring, rather than a fight, is it's about both of you winning. So it's not about defeating her, but you're kind of on the same team because you want to be on the same team. And to the extent, and she'll know more than anyone, that she'll realize she can really spar with you, because she only wants to spar with the best. And it's kind of like sparring is a bit like play, is it not? It's kind of light and fun. That's when you spar the best, when you're the most creative in your flow. And you've only got your style, so you may as well do it. Of course, there's technique and there's your style. That's why certain fighters get brought into spar, because they have a certain style. And if your style isn't right for that fighter who's preparing for a certain fight, then what's the point in you being there? You don't want to be. You're a tall, lanky fighter and they need a tall, lanky fighter, great. you're a short, stocky Tyson fighter, peekaboo, then great, that's what they need. They don't, then someone else will, because you've got a style and everyone needs a certain style. Everyone's got a certain fight. And you know how to spar. You know how it feels. That calm strength. So as you're feeling what you're feeling now, just notice there's that phone in the office and there's no message. Notice what happens now.
It's much more of a decisive action energy. And the more of the energy coming into a round like that, like a skilled fighter rather than, a white belt, where you come to the call with more of that, like Pai Mei from Kill Bill, where you're just like more of that OG martial artist than the young grasshopper.
And you know Pai Mei, right?
Yeah.
As you're feeling what you're feeling, just notice there's
Yeah.
that phone and there's no messages.
You just like, so be it.
So be it, right? So be it, right?
Yeah.
So be it. Because when you really zoom out, Pai Mei knows, right? When you really zoom out, take a big step back, when you're reviewing things, now knowing what you've learned now, because sometimes you just need to go through something and really want to be on that team to learn it. Knowing what you know now, then notice the phone, what happens?
There's no desperation. There is only waiting for a better opportunity or timing. It's okay.
Really? Are you sure?
It feels. Well, I still want that client.
Right, you do, don't you? And is there anything wrong with that?
It's a good
Just
client.
check. Is there anything wrong with wanting that client?
No, I don't think so at all. I think my intentions are pure for her and my career. They're both like, oh, I wanted that client. There's a bit of yearning for bigger opportunities. And I really wanted to prove myself at that scale. That was like the UFC, rather than right now I'm in, Pride or something or whatever, like an older one.
Sure.
or
and
Battlefield finally.
Yeah, right. And I wonder what a fighter in Pride, there's a lot of Pride fighters, here, Bali MMA and Soma, I guess none of them have kind of got to that point and had that big fight and really wanted it, really wanted to get to the UFC or get to that title. And I wonder what they did when they lost. And I wonder what happened to the ones that lost and gave up, and just said, fucked up somehow. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Who's not going to fuck up? So it's really, to the extent that you fuck up, how are you going to do afterwards? They'll decide whether you're going to be on that team eventually or not. You're just not there yet. But to the extent you're not there yet, there's something you did that you just need to learn from. And to the extent that you do, then you'll be on the team. One of them at least, because there's more than just that team.
Yeah.
Because being on that team really is just about feeling, is it not? And what's the feeling you get when you're on that team? What's important about being on that team?
I think there's self-worth validation, like I'm that good to be on that team.
Yeah, so I'm that good. Right? Yeah. And when I'm that good, what does that give you that's important?
Validation.
Validation, right? And so if you get validation, what does that give you? What's important about that?
Happiness, self-worth. I guess the ego is flattered. Money will come with it, success, idea of success, all those things.
And so all those things, when you consolidate them down, what are they really about? They give you, when you have all those things, you have validation, you know you're that good, you have validation, and you have all those things. What's that going to give you that's important for you when you consolidate it down to one thing?
Growth.
Growth. And if you have growth, so what's the feeling it gives you? When you have all those things, you're validated, what does that give you? What feeling are you looking for that's important to you?
Peace, happiness.
Are you sure?
I think that's what the growth would make me feel, is like I'm moving forward. So I feel happiness, but growth might not feel so associated with peace. I think it feels more associated with yearning. But I think whenever I feel like I'm growing, it makes me happy, because if I feel like I'm not moving forward in life, then I feel complacent and sad.
Yeah. Okay. So what's important about moving forwards?
I think because you're either growing or you're decaying, as a good friend of mine would say. And so I think growth is the opposite of decay. And so if I'm moving forwards, at least I'm not going backwards or staying in the same place.
So if you're moving forwards, what does that give you? When you're not decaying and you're moving forwards, what does that give you?
Pride, happiness, validation. I don't know how to consolidate in one word.
Yeah, just really consider for a minute, because I don't know. I'm just checking. It's almost like you're trying to. What's not trying to validate this feeling?
What's not trying to validate this feeling? Tough.
Yeah, really consider that. What's not trying to validate this feeling?
I guess just being comfortable with where I'm at, like just being at peace, just being just in a state of exactly what's happening is totally okay.
That's great, Aaron. That's great.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Good. How's your body feeling right now?
At peace. And also I got a lot of metal in me. So interesting.
So I wonder, it's really unlike how you've been, how worth it is it to be at peace that you can learn from that call?
Good. That's brilliant. It's very worth it, because there's not the air of desperation out of it. It's just the air of this is a learning experience, and it's the same feeling I have now being back in Vancouver, and it's becoming fall. It's getting cold. And I'm like, oh, it's getting cold. Nice, I'll get a jacket. There's no upsetting. And I'm not upset at it in the least. I actually miss the cold. Good. And
Imagine
that's happening.
Yeah, right. It's just happening. Imagine if you went outside and you kind of forgot it was fall, and you went outside and you got cold. You went, oh man, I fucked up. It's just like, okay, just go get a jacket, put a jacket on. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. So as you're feeling what you're feeling, and it's just okay. That's right. And you look at that phone. You're in the office, and there's no messages, and you're reviewing the call. Notice what happens now.
Just get a jacket. That's no big deal.
Just get a jacket, right? And if you can just get a jacket, you just notice you're in the office and there's that phone, and you can just get a jacket. And notice what happens now.
It feels way lighter in my heart and way more in control to not dwell on a possible mistake, but to just see it as if, oh, it's cold outside, get a jacket. There's no big deal. Like it's actually, oh, I missed the cold actually. and to take that learning experience and opportunity, because I'm kind of happy it's becoming fall. Fall is beautiful. So the opportunity to play at that league, and I just forgot my jacket. It's okay. That mental switch of not dwelling on a negative, but just making a decisive action feels much more in control and power than dwelling on it after and being like, I wish I had the feeling of lack. It doesn't.
And what's it like when you have that, when you make that decisive action, you know? What's it, you know, so Aaron, you know, when you make that decisive action, what do you like as a person when you're just making that decisive action?
I feel assertive and in control, and I feel like I'm in much more power, in my power, than if I'm
yeah, so you're much more in your power, right? So Aaron, you're much more in your power, right? When you're making that decisive action, and you know what that's like, you know, and you kind of go, you know, I'm in my power. You know, there's almost a slight, not aggressive, but a slight, you know, focus on your ear, and you know, you're decisive. No, it was this movement is also like a, you know, almost not a frown, but you know, like you're really, you mean it. You're to be taken seriously, and I'm sure you can go to light too, but when you need to, you know, and you're decisive. You know, there's a certain energy, and you know what that's like, right? Yeah. What does it feel like in your body when you're decisive, you know, and your power, and you're in your power?
It feels comfortable. It feels much more grounded, but also confident and centered.
Yeah. How can you be at peace with that? Decisive, in your power, when you're looking at that phone.
It's a feeling of not being so attached to the outcome, but just being more sure of what is now.
Good. So that's the way you've been, right? Attached to the outcome. So if you could be any other way different than how you've been, how do you want to be different?
I'd like to be just more at peace, or sure of my worth, being world-class, high level, calling in world-class, high level clients. I'd like to just be sure of that. Like, that's just it. Not if I mess one up, then I'm like,
so when you're just sure of that, right? So when you're just sure of that, yeah. What's that like when you're just sure of that worth? You're just sure of it.
It's like, forget about it. Of course it is.
Forget about it, right? Just feeling what you're feeling. There's that phone, and you're critiquing, and just notice what happens now. Forget about it. You're just sure of that.
It's just short. It's short. It's just like, of course it's gonna get cold here in winter. Of course.
Right?
Yeah, it's a sure thing.
Yeah, right. Of course. Right. And so you look at that phone, what happens now? Just like, of course, you're sure. Forget about it. What happens now?
Yeah, I don't beat myself up on it. I don't have the same feeling of what did I do wrong? It just makes me feel more like, it just wasn't the right fit.
Just wasn't the right fit, right? But you still want to be on the team, right? And really,
Definitely.
really, here's the thing. It's more about, you know, it's more about being at peace, you know, just like, being on that team is really more about being at peace. So to the extent you can be at peace, that it's worth making some mistakes. That's right. I mean, you can just be at peace that it's worth making mistakes. Because isn't that how everyone grows? Now, so really, it's that there'll be some things that you might make mistakes on, but it's just not really that big of a deal because it's not that important to you. And there'll be other things that will be important to you that you might be concerned about making mistakes. But to the extent that you realize that it's worth enough making those, because either you won't make the mistakes, or you'll make the mistakes and make up for it in the moment and get on that team, or you won't, and you know it's worth figuring out what the mistake was, and it's just like putting on your jacket, it's just like pull. And it's worth making that mistake because it's just a mistake, not you. And to the extent you can keep doing that now and really see that, well, I think other people will be wanting to be on your team so they can feel at peace, knowing that it's worth making mistakes. And you're going to make mistakes either way. I'm going to make mistakes, you're going to make mistakes, everyone is going to make mistakes. So it's really about, are these mistakes worth making?
Definitely.
So
Absolutely.
that you can learn.
Yeah. I would absolutely then read the situation more in an open, receptive manner, rather than I was trying to gauge it. And I had the good intentions with what I was sharing, and what I was trying to do was try to build rapport and get comfort and build comfort. But if I was just an open, receptive, like the Zen master, and listen more, I would have taken in more information than trying to force it like the young fighter, trying to just throw the haymakers and throw a knockout. Just chill.
And so and just notice now. So even notice now, just on the call, right? Where were you when you were doing the call?
In this next room.
Next room, right? And so was it on a laptop or a computer or on a phone? Laptop.
This laptop. Yeah.
Right. On this laptop, you're in there, and it begins, and you just notice what happens. You just notice what happens there.
It really reminds me of someone I met 2 weeks ago. He's a very high-ranking police detective, and he runs he's the CEO of this foundation I'm going to be doing charity work with. We're going to be pledging part of our funds from the shop to Kids Play. It's helping at-risk kids who are of gang violence. Wow. So I want to be helping these kids. They get sports teams together for them. They learn sports, and people come give talks. So I gave a talk, and I want to fund this program. He's a police officer. I met him at the Vancouver Police headquarters. I never thought I'd be working with the police. And I go in, funny enough, right? And this guy is powerful. He's very, very in shape. And he had this like look in his eyes where it was just power. I could just feel he's now helped 11,000 kids. He has 680 volunteers. He's done a big scale service. I'm very impressed with his capabilities of how he is. I want to be just like him. I'm like, wow, this guy has helped a lot of people. And when I looked in his eyes, I could just tell I wanted to be on my best behavior. Like I wanted to impress him because I just respected him so much, but he didn't say that much. It's just, he had this air. When I looked in his eyes, it was just powerful. And he was just looking directly at me. And I was just like, don't say something stupid. Like I was on my back foot. You know what I mean? And I was just like, that energy, I couldn't shake it for a few days. I was just like, that guy has power. Like he's energetically
what I want you to do,
strong.
Aaron, just float over into his body. Float over into his body now. That's right. And just notice what it's like. Notice what it's like, looking through his eyes, learning what there is to be learned. Because here's the interesting thing you may not have considered. Is to the extent for you to feel the power that he has, you have to be able to feel powerful. Because what you're feeling is just a construct of who he is that you've made in your mind. And you've made something very powerful that is a representation of him inside of you. So I think you know what that means now, about power and where it is. And so you can just take all that with you, floating up out of this body, taking all those abilities back into your body now. Really integrating those in. Power. That's it. And notice what happens now. You're about to start the call. And it's short. Forget about it. Power. That's good. What's happening now?
Yeah, I feel that mixture of the sheer intelligence and power that guy has. I could feel that side of me, and it's centered right there. And so it's just like this energy that's not at all desperate. It's more like how I showed up to that meeting is kind of how I showed up to the call, rather than the situation's reverse where I'm the one in power here. And
as you're the one in power here, and you see, it's a bit like when you're sparring, right? If you're the more skilled, better fighter, you know what you do, right? I know you do this. You know, you don't beat the shit out of the other person. You go, yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can really consider that when you have that power, because that's kind of what's happening. She is coming to you for help.
Yeah.
That is supposed to be the kind of balance. But in the same way that the way this is set up in our call, I have to keep some of the power. For example, not oversharing, but still building rapport, right? I've overshared before, you know, I had to make those mistakes to then not make them again. But it's not about me doing anything to you. It's about us sitting shoulder to shoulder if we're in the same room. I mean, I sit my clients like that, shoulder to shoulder, and we're looking out at the problem. So we can be soft on each other, supportive of each other, but hard on the problem. Just like any good relationship. And so then it's not so much about a power struggle, but it's whoever's more powerful in that moment for that situation. And just like in one situation, you're going to be more powerful for the one she's coming to you for. But if you were to then at some point go to her for something, just like if I went to you for, you know, certain other skills, you would be the one in power to guide and help me. And then there'd be other situations where we might be kind of more balanced. So as you're considering all that, knowing this now, only then when you're about to start the call, what happens now?
It's definitely a more relaxed, skilled fighter. You know, the teacher, the person who's Pai Mei, who's running the class, rather than the sparring partner. Exactly. You're showing up.
You're not thinking about starting your call just before the call, before the video comes on. Just like
I'll energetically do that before every call. Because
you're feeling what you're feeling. You know, you're just seeing yourself doing that just before the call, and it kind of makes you like laugh lightly as well. You know, and then notice what happens. Then she comes on the screen. Notice what happens.
Channel my inner Pai Mei, and it would be a less. And I get it because I do this before the call, and I'm like, wait, did I have enough coffee? Have I had enough caffeine? Have I had what can I have in my bag? That's
what's happening now when you're just you know just before the call? What's happening instead of that? So you're not doing that. What is it?
So then I'm frantically searching for something to make me give me an edge, and it's the addictive side of me that like I have my little peppermint oil, a ritual before a call. I like my essential oil, and I think that's healthy. But did I have enough coffee? Do I want a nicotine gum?
You have all these kind of addictive behaviors, right?
Yeah.
So how have you not realized that you can be on the edge of being Pai Mei just before? That you can realize now.
It's a way less that energy of channeling the inner martial arts master in me, you know, just before call, remember your black belt, rather than what do I need to make me enough for this call? What substance do I need? You know, what do I need? If it's a state of lack getting me frantically rushed for this call, instead of a state of I got this, of course. And, it's like that when I get on a podcast, I don't need to prep at all. Yeah, go for it. I could do it half asleep. I'm enough. I'm going to be good. I got stories for days, no problem. But if I'm interviewing somebody and then I have to be insightful or I'm coaching or, there's something I'm like, what do I need?
Oh, so you think you have to be insightful when you're interviewing somebody? Ah, so what's so what happens if you just ask questions?
Everything always turns out better that way. And
Ah.
I tell this to my buddies who are dating girls and they're like too frantic. I'm like, just ask more questions. Just take more interest in them.
So let me ask you this, Aaron. As you think about it now, learning what you've learned, then asking more questions, what happens now?
It feels much more in control, taking interest, giving me even deeper a deeper understanding of the situation to then make that extra shot. Just like in martial arts, where I wouldn't even throw a punch for the first 30 seconds. I just want to see what this guy's going to do. And where's their range?
You're
how are
asking
they going to react?
questions, aren't you? You're like, and then you're like, question, and then they're like, okay, cool. Or you're like a weak kind of slow jab. Okay, so you parry that one. Okay, you're asking questions. So let me ask you this: is as we sit here now, knowing what you did before, but as we sit here now, knowing that we all change and are changing all the time and learning, as we sit here now and you think about that call, or even think about the next call, say if you have another call, imagine another call coming up that you want to be on that team. And you just think about asking questions, and how it always turns out better. What happens now? That's right.
It feels like much more of a position of strength and skill than the position of lack, need, unworthiness, or being frantic.
Now, what I want you to do is just notice, when you're just like the first 30 seconds, you're just kind of asking questions and then looking for the response, asking questions, looking for the response. It's kind of what I do, right? I ask lots of questions, and then I go on a bit of a like rant, and then see what sticks, what works. Then I get some feedback, lots of questions. And then either if we're in a good place and I think I've kind of got it for you, what I'm going to help you with, then I just keep talking a bit more and keep watching you. But if then something new comes up, then I go, questions. And then I'm like, right? In a sense that I'm like, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah. Totally.
So it's that movement, right? It's that movement. Because that person might change how they're sparring too. So you have to then ask questions again if it shifts. You don't have to be like, oh no, you just ask more questions. So as you see yourself sparring, right? You could see that, could you not? An image of yourself sparring, right? And you can see what it looks like and how it feels. That's good. That's good, especially how it feels. That's good, especially how it feels. That's right. A lot of it's how it feels, isn't it? But you can see it too. And then just notice, just move that to the side for a minute and notice, on that call with that girl, just notice how that looked. How that looks and how that feels. And then just notice the differences now. What's the difference between them and how they look and feel?
The bringing the experience of confidence and surety rather than the experience of I really want to win this fight is a different stance. It's
a different stance, isn't it? So just see yourself taking that stance, the one that or taking this stance, the one that you really want when you're about to start that call. and notice what happens now.
It just feels better. Yeah. It feels stronger.
How so? How does it feel better?
Feels like I would come into it with a more professional energy, even. It feels more experienced, professional, clinical, skilled, as opposed to, oh man, I gotta nail this one. Let me show how smart I am.
So it's just professional.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when you consider how the professional stance will feel when you're not taking it personally.
Yeah. I would much rather my, doctor not take it so personally and just be a professional.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And wouldn't
yeah,
it be
yeah,
okay if you were late to, if you were late to the doctor's appointment? Wouldn't it be totally appropriate for the doctor to go, so this is an, obviously, at this surgery, we expect patients to come on time. So I'm just curious, are you okay? What happened? Because I can see that you're 25 minutes late, the doctor says, in a nice, light way, and then the person, maybe they go, sorry, I just forgot to set my alarm. You can imagine what the doctor might say as a professional, nothing to do with the personal relationship. What might the doctor say?
You'll have to come to the next appointment because I'm very busy.
Right.
Sorry.
Right. And then if, or who knows what else, right? So you're only going to have a certain amount of time. And also, this might be put in your notes. That happens again, it's put in your notes. That happens a lot, right? If you miss an appointment or a late, you get blacklisted. And then some in the UK, sometimes they take you off. They're like, you can't book anymore. Right. So as as you're considering how you feel now, you just think about, you're looking at your phone and there's no messages. What happens now? That's right. That's good.
Just being professional and not having the air of lack or desperation around that move. It would just be, honestly, it would just be focused on my own personal skills rather than complaining about spilled milk. Just go get yourself another class.
Yeah. So you're just focusing on your own skills. So you see that phone, and there's no messages, and you're just focusing on your own skills. And how does that feel now? You're just focusing on your skills.
It feels much better. It really does.
Yeah. Really? You're just saying that, Aaron. You're just saying that because we're recording this, and you're just like, oh God, I'm just such. I like Rich so much. I'm just going to make sure the session goes well. You're just making it up. Come on, you can tell me.
No.
As you're feeling what you're feeling, you notice that phone. There's no messages, and you're just laughing. That's what happens.
It's
and
all
you're just
good.
lightening up that picture.
Yeah.
Skills. It hasn't changed, though, is it? You're just being nice. You're such a nice guy, right? You're not taking this as a professional relationship. You're like, oh man, I need to make this good for Rich. You're doing that, right? You're not being professional.
No. Now I'm trying to think. I really want to mess it up for you then, because it's funny, and it'd be like, you hypnotized me. I turned into a duck, and like just like, do something because I could be goofy. No, I'm serious. To the actual point, it feels much better to come with a space of surety and not be worried if I mess something up. Instead, being centered in my own skill set, clear and grounded in my own skill set, rather than, I kind of feel like I did a good job on that call so far, and she was 25 minutes late. It's like she was 25 minutes late and then started early. I think that would just be a thing on her end instead of a thing on my end.
Isn't that interesting?
I know where I'm at.
Isn't that interesting? So now you're also starting to critique what happened with her in a different way? Can you notice the tone in your voice?
Mm-hmm.
Before you were like, yeah, she's 25 minutes late. Now you're like, well, she was kind of 25 minutes late.
And she recoiled when I said I'm in a happy, successful relationship. It was like a bit like, I just noticed just a bit of a change of energy. I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that, but I shouldn't have to worry about saying that.
Well, the thing is, now at least you have choice. It's not about you. It's just about your skill set. So you can just really think about it and you can just try different things out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
You can just see, there were certain things, you're 25 minutes late. And, I just wondered, you can consider what kind of things you're starting to think about, you'll try next time, knowing how you feel now, when it's just about a skill set, about what you might do. I mean, what might you do if someone's 25 minutes late next time?
Tell them to book again. Oh, not wait 25 minutes.
Right? Because really, we're training, not in a derogatory way, we're training people how to be around us.
Absolutely.
We're training people how to be around us all the time. When you're doing martial arts and stuff, and the sensei or the master, anyone like that. I remember when I was training at Roger Cracy Academy in London, if you were a certain amount of time late, you weren't let in.
Yeah, of course. Same.
They'd be like, leave.
Yeah.
You're late. And they wouldn't be like really light about it. They'd be really black about it. They'd be like, you're late. Brazilian guys are late, brother. Go. It's not okay. Go. You'd be like, oh no, but come on, please. No, go. You need to respect the time. Everyone else has arrived. And then those people weren't late again. Or some of them just didn't come back. Yeah. But I guess that was best for the club as well, So it's really about, do they want to be on your team? Do you want to let them on your team?
No, I don't want people coming and messing around with my time. That really gets on my nerves. Yeah,
and that's kind of okay. And of course, there's various ways you can try. You don't have to be like, my time. Different than a dojo as well.
No,
maybe you may not. There's varying different ways in which you want to do it. I remember my dad. He it was some kind of coaching thing he did when he was like 20 years ago or something. And it was like a real, he had to pay a lot of money for it. And it was very intensive. And the guy was just like, my dad said, he was just no bullshit. He was just like, if you're late, you're off the course, you don't get your money back. That's it. If you don't do the work, you're off the course, you don't get your money back. If you don't pull your weight, don't help others, you're off the course, don't get your money back. Right? And for those types of people, that worked beautifully. Now, of course, if you're doing, therapy and there's like some, sexual abuse or real lacking in self-worth of an individual, you're probably not going to do that.
No.
Right?
But actually, can I ask you a question? Because that actually really brings me up with a client I have right now. And he's, I'm coaching him out of getting out of the drug game. I want him to become a legitimate professional that's a solid member of his community. That's our goal. His goal is to get.
You said,
out. Yep. He's not doing his homework, and he's all fired up about it at the start. Definitely not getting his money back, but he. It's been 2 weeks now of ineffective action with clearly giving him parameters on how to work, clearly giving him assignments and homework, and is just not getting it done, and not performing to it, and going on benders on the weekend. And so I got to call him tomorrow. I'm gonna meet up with him. I need him to actually really focus and get to the point and get things done. But in this space, what do I do? Say, okay, then like if you don't do your homework next week, you're not getting your money back. It's done. But I really want to see him succeed. I really want to continue coaching him and see it through. I'm invested in his success. He's invested in me, and I really want to make a difference in his life. I don't want to see him go down the path how bad that can get. He's in pretty deep.
Okay. So
how do I help this person? I know we're running out of time.
Yeah. So we'll do a little bit here.
Last point.
Yeah, and then there's also some other things we could look into that's a bit of more of a consultancy kind of supervision thing that I sometimes do with other coaches that I can suggest. But I want to use this for what we've been doing today. So you know what it's like, when like that police guy, and you're really feeling it, and you're just being professional. You know what that's like? You're just being professional. You know what it's like when you're just being professional. And you know what it feels like in your body, do you not? When you're being professional. And as you're feeling professional, just think about that client. I mean, getting to the point and notice what happens now.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's happening?
Yeah. I feel exactly how that guy that I told you, the really high ranking police officer that I really see has power, how he looked at me. I didn't want to fuck up. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to
So if
do
you're
well.
feeling that, you just notice you're having the next chat with him, that client. Okay. And he hasn't followed through. What happens now?
It's more clinical and professional rather than trying to be his buddy.
It's more clinical and professional. When you're being more clinical and professional, and there's a continuum on that, right? Depending on the client, type of client, right, and the language. As you're being more clinical and professional, and you notice he gives you the answer, that he might probably give you, and notice what happens. You're clinical and professional.
Yeah. I think it had more serious results than not taking it as seriously. If I'm like, all right, next weekend then.
So what's happening now? What are you seeing? And what are you hearing yourself saying?
I'm seeing more accountability.
How?
Yeah. By him knowing I'm a professional. I'm serious about this stuff. It's not a.
And what are you seeing on that Aaron's face there that lets you know that Aaron is professional? Power. What specifically is letting you know his face or his body or his voice that he has power and he's being professional so that he can actually help?
Yeah. Asking questions, clear eye contact, and really decisive words rather than pandering.
That's right. How does that feel now?
Strong.
Yeah. Now here's the thing, Aaron. You might not be able to help him. Okay?
No doubt.
There are various things. Some people aren't ready. There's also other skill sets, some other aspects in there as well. If I was doing supervision with you, there'd be things like other unconscious work you might need to do, like we have done together, that maybe, maybe you go, do you know what? I keep getting these clients, and this is what I had ages ago. Like, I'm still asking them questions, I'm being professional, but it's like they almost can't do it. So then I trained in NLP and hypnotherapy and HNLP and all these other things, because I was like, there's just some clients that I can't just coach. I need to help them with a deeper thing. And that might be like, okay, so that's a question I want to ask myself. Or it might not be. You might be like, well, then maybe I don't work with those types of clients. If I don't want to do the unconscious deep work, then, like we've talked about, you outsource to another person. And that's fine. Just like I've moved more into the unconscious stuff, and I don't really want to do too much of the coaching and what you're going to do next in the list, because it's just, I love the unconscious work. So sometimes it's about picking a skill set. Sometimes it's about trying to really, expand, but at least you get to try something and fuck up and learn. So you can feel at peace knowing you did the best you could. Because I made a lot of mistakes, said a lot of the wrong things. But also I can always then later on do the best to make up for that. You know what I mean?
Appreciate that. I totally know what you mean. Yeah.
So as you think about the problem, how are you feeling now?
A lot more sure, empowered, feeling like the old Zen master, the skilled fighter. I feel a lot. I just feel deeper and more sure of it, and that feels good. Yeah.
Are you sure it's worth it exploring that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course, without a doubt.
So that's really where the worth is in exploring. Being sure it's worth it.
Yeah.
So as you're feeling what you're feeling, what's the smallest thing you could do? Normally it'd take like under 20 minutes, super, super small. The next smallest step that you could take with regards to what we've worked through today to continue this work of being sure that it's worth it, what could you do? What pops up?
What pops up first for me is something a pretty interesting guy told me the other day, is recounting at the end of the day, how did the day go and what were the things I could improve on, and making that a part of the evening meditation. So just before falling asleep, a quick meditation sit, and then actually recounting what could I improve on and strengthening the muscle of not looking, of looking at myself and auditing without judgment. So just like putting on the jacket, I'll put on the jacket. Okay. Oh, I could have done this differently. Okay. And then strengthening the muscle of being okay, being wrong then, because it's like, it's no big deal. And so I think that introspection, I've been trying to put that in practice, and I, hit or miss. Some days I'll remember, sometimes I won't, but I'm feeling called more and more to accept and encourage the introspective elements of being wrong and being okay, being wrong, and then using it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I really feel out of this was, I want to continue down that path of auditing without judgment.
Okay. And what's your auditing jacket? Is it this one?
Yeah, it could be this one. I'm gonna maybe go buy a new jacket because there's one I liked that I really want.
Okay. So maybe it's that you go out and buy that auditing jacket.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
So when's the next time you're going to do this audit? Is it the end of today? You'll do it?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next smallest step, we're not talking about lots of days of doing it. The next smallest step is that at the end of today, you put on your jacket, and you can put on a literal jacket. I want you to put on a literal jacket that you're like, this is my auditing jacket, whether it's the one you go and buy, right? You put on some jacket so you feel professional. It's what you did today, right? You put on the jacket for this call. I appreciate it. And you're kind of, okay, right? And then you're going to do your audit.
I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, I put on this jacket because I'm going to fancy dinner after this. Don't get your head so big, man. But it's the 1 year anniversary of my near death.
Do you know what? I fucked up.
Maybe I overshared.
And I'm sure that's worth it, and it's okay.
Thank you for today, bro. Appreciate this.
Have a good time at your the celebration, and man, honestly, like how far you've come and stuff, the stuff you've had to work through.
You've been there with me the whole time, bro. I wouldn't have been able to be where I'm at now unless we dealt with the trauma of the accident. You were with me when I was in a wheelchair, and I couldn't even get out of the wheelchair by myself. It was the craziest year of my life, and which says a lot because I'm a crazy person. But the gauge that where now I'm able to walk where I was in a wheelchair, and you were helping me get through the trauma of that. I mean, check this out. That's pretty. There's no cane.
Wow.
Right, that's pretty good.
Amazing.
Right, 1 year, baby. What 1 year?
Like
1 year.
Backwards now, right? Show off.
Yeah,
and you know what? As you're considering what you're feeling now, we'll finish and we'll close with this, and I'll say bye-bye. Is as you're noticing how far you've come, that something fucked up, right? There was a big fuck up, and that you really learned from, and you've become so much more as a person, or rather let go of stuff you didn't need. And now you're really becoming more of who you are. Just think about all the other calls you're going to have with different clients, all the different potential clients. And then as the weeks go by and the months go by and the years go by, and eventually it's 5 years in the future now, and you're looking back on how far you've come. So I guess you can just look forwards to looking back, just like you are now. And so on that note, you can remember to forget to remember everything you don't need to. Wonderful session, and have a good night tonight.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that.
See you later, Aaron.
See you.
Bye.